Good evening, my friends, and welcome back to Neville Manifestation, a space where we don't just talk about changing life, we learn to become the version of ourselves for whom everything already exists. If you feel called to go deeper into this understanding and truly embody it, consider becoming a member of this channel, where we explore these teachings beyond the surface and turn them into lived experience. What if the very reason your life hasn't changed yet is the same thing you've been doing to make it change? What if the urgency, the effort, the constant watching is not speeding things up, but silently holding everything in place? Tonight, I want to challenge the one belief almost everyone carries when they discover this truth. Because the moment you truly understand it, not just in your mind, but in your being, something inside you will finally let go. And that is the moment everything begins to move. Good evening, my friends. There's a question that quietly sits inside almost everyone who comes across this teaching. You've probably asked it yourself at some point, maybe in those private moments when you're alone with your thoughts. The question is simple: how do I make this happen faster? It's a very human question. In fact, it usually comes from someone who has already realized something important. You've seen, even if just for a moment, that the life you want isn't some distant fantasy meant for other people. It's real, it's possible. And once you see that, the distance between where you are and where you want to be can start to feel frustrating, even overwhelming. I understand that feeling, and I want to speak directly to it. Because the answer is not what most people expect. And when it truly clicks, not just in your mind, but deeper, in that place where real understanding lives, you'll feel something release inside you. That tension, that constant effort, that pressure, it begins to soften. And that very release is what actually sets everything in motion. So here it is. The fastest way to manifest is to stop trying to make it happen faster. I know that might sound strange at first. A part of you might already be resisting it, but stay with me, because this isn't just a clever idea. It's something very real and very practical. The moment your main focus becomes speeding things up, you reveal something about your inner state. You show that you are still living in the feeling of not having it yet. And that matters more than any technique you use. Because when you're waiting, even if you're doing it patiently or sincerely, you're still sending the message, it's not here yet. And the law doesn't separate wanting from waiting. Both carry the same signal: I don't have this. And whatever you consistently feel and assume, life reflects back to you. So you end up getting more waiting, more almost, more of that feeling of being close but not quite there. That's why the conversation about speed has to begin somewhere unexpected. Not with doing more, but with understanding what actually creates movement. Once you truly understand that, things begin to unfold faster on their own, and often in ways that surprise you. It's not about techniques, or how often you practice, or how long you've been doing this. It's about your state. Your state of consciousness is what determines everything: the speed, the quality, and the form of what shows up in your life. Your state is the inner world you live in consistently. It's the feeling you carry about yourself and your life. Not what you say you believe, not what you repeat in affirmations, but what you quietly assume to be true deep down. And here's the most freeing part of all this: you can change your state right now, not months from now, not after fixing everything or healing every past wound. Right now, in this very moment, you can step into a different state. That's the only real shortcut there has ever been, and it has always been available to you. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't really about time, it's about state. And states can shift instantly. So, what actually helps things move faster? The first thing is clarity. It sounds simple, but most people overlook it. It's not about how strong your desire is or how hard you try. It's about how clearly you know what you are stepping into. The law is precise. It doesn't respond well to vague ideas. It needs something solid to work with. If your vision is unclear, your imagination has nothing stable to hold on to. It keeps changing, drifting, never fully landing anywhere. And then your outer world reflects that same uncertainty. You end up with something that's okay, close, but not exactly what you truly wanted. So instead of thinking in general terms, get specific. Not just, I want financial freedom, but what does an ordinary day look like when money is no longer a concern? How do you move through your morning? How do you speak? What do you feel when you check your bank account and there's no stress attached to it? Just calm, like it's always been that way. Not just, I want a relationship, But what does it feel like to sit with someone who truly understands you? What's the energy between you? What's the ease like when you don't feel the need to impress or perform? Not just, I want better health, but how does your body feel when it's working with you instead of against you? How do you move? How do you wake up in the morning? The more detailed and real your inner scene becomes, the easier it is for your imagination to fully step into it. And the more real it feels inside, the more naturally it begins to show up outside. Clarity isn't just helpful, it's essential. The second thing is depth of feeling. This is something many people take time to understand, but those who grasp it early tend to see results much faster. One deeply felt moment, just 20 or 30 seconds, where you completely drop into the feeling of your wish already fulfilled, where you are not watching it happen, not hoping for it, but actually experiencing it. That is more powerful than hours of repeating techniques without real connection. It's not about how many times you do it, it's about how real it feels in that one moment. You'll know it when it happens. Your body responds, your breath slows, your chest softens, your shoulders relax. There's a sense of ease, like something inside you has settled. That's when the feeling has truly landed, not as an idea, but as an experience. And that moment, when it's genuine, carries more creative power than anything forced or mechanical. Because manifestation doesn't respond to effort, it responds to state. And when your state shifts, everything begins to align with it naturally. A single moment where the feeling truly lands in you is like planting a seed deep into rich soil, where it already has everything it needs to grow. But repeating something over and over without real emotion, just because it's part of a routine, while a quiet voice inside still doubts it, that's like scattering seeds on dry ground. Something may still grow eventually, but it will struggle. So the real question isn't how often you're doing the practice. The honest question is, how real does it feel when you do it? And if the truth is that it doesn't feel very real, that it feels like pretending or trying to convince yourself, then that's exactly what needs your attention. Not doing it more often, but going deeper. And how do you deepen it? You slow everything down. You become still. You stop forcing emotions and instead allow them to rise naturally. Instead of trying to imagine your entire dream life all at once, you focus on one small, specific moment, one scene, one detail, one feeling. You give it your full attention. You breathe into it, and you let your body respond. Because your body doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality, it reacts to what the mind accepts as real. When your body begins to shift, your breath softens, your muscles relax, something inside you settles. That's when the seed has truly been planted. Measure your practice by that feeling, not by time. And when it happens, even briefly, trust that it was enough. The next thing that truly speeds things up is something much quieter, but incredibly powerful over time. Consistency. Not intensity, but consistency. Think of how a river shapes stone, not through force, but through steady, continuous flow. Day after day, it gently carves its path. Your subconscious works the same way. It's not just about powerful moments, although they matter. It's about the steady repetition of a state held over time. A simple rhythm can help with this. In the morning, before anything else influences you, take a few minutes to step into your desired state. Not in a complicated way, just a quiet moment where you feel what it's like to already be there. Set the tone from within before the world has a chance to do it for you. Then during the day, live your life normally. Don't constantly check your thoughts or worry about doing it perfectly. Trust that what you felt in the morning has already been planted. And when something reminds you of your desire, gently return to that feeling for a moment, naturally, without effort, like humming a tune you enjoy. At night, just before sleep, revisit that state again, not as work, but as something familiar and comforting. Let it be the last thing you feel before drifting off. In that quiet space, your subconscious is most open, and it continues working with whatever impression you leave it. This simple rhythm, morning intention, living with trust during the day, and letting go at night, creates a quiet momentum. And one day, often sooner than expected, you'll notice that your outer world has been shifting in the direction of what you've been holding inside. Now, there is something even more important than all of this, something that has a massive impact on how quickly things unfold. It's the release of resistance. Resistance is anything in you that pushes against what you want. It shows up as doubt, as checking for results, as wondering why it hasn't happened yet. It's the subtle tension running underneath even a well-practiced routine. And the tricky part is that resistance is often quiet. It hides in small moments, in the way you react to your current situation, in the sigh when nothing seems to change, in the question, am I doing this right? Each of these adds a little friction. Not enough to stop things completely, but enough to slow them down. And here's the important part: you can't fight resistance. Trying to force yourself to believe or pushing against doubt only makes it stronger. It's like struggling against yourself, you just create more tension. Resistance fades when you soften, when you stop trying to control everything and begin to trust. It fades when you stop constantly checking for results and start living your life fully. It fades when your inner state becomes so natural that doubt has nothing to hold on to. Think about something you are completely certain of, like the sun rising tomorrow. You don't stress about it. You don't repeat affirmations to make it happen. You simply know. It's effortless, calm, and unquestioned. That's the kind of knowing that removes resistance. It's quiet confidence. It's the feeling of ordering something you love and knowing it's already on its way. You don't sit there worrying about it. You go on with your life, and when it arrives, it feels natural. This is the state where manifestation happens the fastest. Not in urgency, not in pressure, not in trying to make it work, but in relaxed certainty. The people who see results quickly aren't the ones putting in the most effort. They are the ones holding the least resistance. They set the intention, feel it once deeply, and then they let it go, not carelessly, but with trust. When you clear out resistance, you remove the friction. And when there's no friction, things move fast, very fast. And I want to speak honestly to those of you who have been doing this sincerely, putting in real effort, yet still feel like things are moving slowly. This is an important moment, because when things feel slow, the natural reaction is to do more, try harder, push further. But often, that's not what's needed at all. When things feel like they're taking too long, the natural reaction is to push harder. More visualization, more repetition, more effort, more urgency. But in most cases, that reaction actually slows everything down. That sense of it's not happening yet is a state in itself. It's the mindset of someone watching, waiting, measuring time, and noticing the absence of what they want. And that state, no matter how understandable, is still the state of not having it. So when you respond by trying harder, you're adding more effort on top of that same state of lack. You're working harder from a place that already assumes it isn't here yet. And when effort is fueled by lack, it doesn't create abundance. It just deepens the feeling of absence, often leaving you more drained. The real shift happens when you ease up, when you step back for a moment and ask yourself honestly, what am I actually feeling right now? Not what you're trying to feel, not what you think you should feel, but what's truly there underneath it all. From there, the change doesn't come through force. It comes through awareness, through remembering what's true and gently moving into a different state. The distance between where you are and where you want to be doesn't close by doing more. It closes by fully becoming the version of you who already has it. So when things feel slow, don't push, soften. Come back to a quiet kind of trust, the same calm certainty a farmer has in winter, knowing that growth is happening beneath the surface, even when nothing is visible yet. One of the most powerful influences on how quickly things shift is something most people overlook: your inner conversation. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, there's a constant stream of thoughts running in the background about who you are, how life works for you, and what's possible. It often feels like you're just observing reality, like you're being honest with yourself. Thoughts like, I always get close but never quite there, or this kind of thing doesn't really happen for me. But those aren't neutral observations, they're assumptions. And every assumption is treated as instruction. So whatever story you keep repeating internally, life reflects it right back. You don't have to fight those thoughts with forced positivity. That usually just creates resistance. Instead, start questioning them. Gently, honestly. Look at them with curiosity instead of agreement. Ask yourself, is this actually true? Or is this something I decided at some point and kept reinforcing? Then, little by little, begin choosing a different story. Not as a fake mantra, but as a perspective you're willing to grow into. A voice that comes from the version of you for whom things do work out. Someone who naturally experiences opportunities, ease, and alignment as part of everyday life. The more you return to that voice, the more familiar it becomes. And eventually, it starts to feel real because you've given it attention, energy, and space to take root. Change the way you speak to yourself, and you change what you're putting out into the world. And when that shifts, Your external reality has no choice but to respond. There's also a moment each day that most people completely overlook, even though it's incredibly powerful. It's that space between sleep and waking, the brief quiet period where you're not fully alert yet, but no longer asleep. Your mind is soft, open, and receptive. The usual mental filters haven't kicked in. In that small window, you have direct access to the deeper layers of your mind. What you introduce in that moment matters more than you think. Before you grab your phone, before you start thinking about your to do list, just stay there for a minute. Let yourself feel as though your desired life is already real. Let that be the first impression of your day. When you do this consistently, it shifts the baseline of how your day unfolds. And from that new starting point, things begin to align more naturally. Conversations, opportunities, small moments that reflect your inner state. Not because of something mystical, but because your state is always being mirrored back to you. Protect that moment. Use it intentionally. At the core of all of this is a deeper challenge. Not about techniques or doing things perfectly, but about trust. Can you truly trust? Not just when things look promising or when you feel motivated, but in the quiet moments, the ordinary days, when nothing seems to be happening and doubt starts to whisper again. Because that's where everything is really decided. It's easy to feel confident when everything feels aligned. But real trust shows up when there's no visible evidence yet, when life feels still and unchanged. The people who see results the fastest aren't the ones with the most complex methods. They're the ones who trust the most deeply. The ones who've made a quiet internal decision that it's already done. And they carry that knowing without needing constant reassurance. They don't spend their time checking, analyzing, or wondering if it's working. They simply know. And then they go on living, fully present, engaged, and grateful. That's the shift. Don't focus on making it happen faster. Focus on trusting it more completely. When you remove urgency and doubt, things move naturally, like a river flowing once the obstacles are gone. Plant the seed, feel it as real, then leave it alone. Let it grow in the unseen, where all real growth happens. And instead of waiting anxiously, stand in a quiet readiness, the kind that comes from knowing exactly what you've planted and trusting the nature of how things grow. What's meant for you is already on its way. It always has been. It was never as far as it seemed. It just felt that way because of the noise of doubt and urgency. When you become still enough, calm enough, and trusting enough, you begin to sense it arriving. So be still, trust fully. Let it be enough to know it's done. And then watch how quickly things begin to move when you stop trying to rush them. Rest tonight with the quiet certainty that what you've set in motion is already unfolding. And wake up tomorrow with that same calm knowing that it's already making its way to you. What you have been searching for was never really about speed, technique, or doing more. It was about a shift, quiet, subtle, but absolute, in who you are being. The moment you stop chasing, stop measuring, stop asking when, you step out of the state of waiting and into the state of having. And that is where everything begins to reorganize. Not because you forced it, not because you perfected some method, but because you finally aligned with the version of yourself for whom it is already real. This is why the greatest movement often happens in stillness, why the deepest change comes when you soften instead of push, when you trust instead of control, when you live your days not as someone hoping for a different life, but as someone who knows, quietly and completely, that it is already unfolding. Understand this clearly. Nothing is being delayed. Life is not testing you. Time is not working against you. And you are not doing it wrong. Everything responds with precision to the state you consistently occupy. And the moment that state changes, even slightly but genuinely, the entire direction of your life begins to shift. You may not see it immediately, but beneath the surface, things are rearranging, aligning, moving into place in ways your logical mind could never predict. Your only real work is to remain faithful to that inner shift, to return to it, to trust it, to let it become natural. Because once it feels natural, it no longer requires effort. And when there is no effort, there is no resistance left to slow it down. So walk forward from here differently, not with urgency, but with quiet certainty, not with force, but with ease. Let your inner world be settled, clear, and grounded in the knowing that what you desire is not ahead of you, it is within you, waiting only for your full acceptance. And as you give it that acceptance, again and again, it will take form, effortlessly, Inevitably. Because the moment you become it fully within, life has no choice but to reflect it back to you.